We alkalize to realize the body is the temple, water is the source of life. We breathe in life and then we synthesize. This liquid sun will free your glands and begin to decalcify. Peer through your third eye, see through the lies and give your body what it's missing. We dehydrated, and that's the human condition. But when you clean the body and believe the body, you set yourself up to receive the body. See, it's a sharp knife, that's the water of life. It's like a sword cutting parasites down the sides. It takes a certain kind of faith to know that you're divine. And if it comes from urethra, then it's alkaline. We serve in truth, and it don't matter how weird it really gets. It's the linchpin ascended masters to initiates. We alkalize to realize. Open your mind and find you had it inside this whole damn time. We alkalize to realize. Open your mind and find you had it inside this whole damn time. You had it inside this whole damn time.
All right, greetings, family, peace and love. This is the Alkalise to Realize talk show. We got a very interesting young lady here. I mean, I just got like a list of all not trying to accomplish, but there's even some terminology that I literally never heard about until I basically just looked into your story, your life story, your passion. You know, this is Miss Toby Israel. I'm sure you're gonna hear a lot about that and a lot about her in the future. And let me just put a list together. I got a list of this is what she does. Okay, she's a trained empowerment self-defense instructor. And what I love how you actually brought something to light with me was the statistic you talked about on Facebook about how about 92% of the cases when women are endangered with, rape or sex is from someone they know, and it's less likely for it to, be from a stranger. And I'm sure we'll get to that. But she's a trained empowerment self-defense instructor, a vagabondess. Okay. Did I say it right?
Yep. I don't think there's a right way to say it. I'm kind of making it up.
Okay. Yeah, a vagabondess does not have a fixed home, right? Like you, or do you now? Or do you have a fixed home?
I'm a little bit more settled. I've been based in Costa Rica for the last 2.5 years, but I still consider myself a vagabondess.
Right. Yeah. At heart, because you've been doing it for about 10 years, right? Over a decade.
Almost.
Right.
Yeah, about 7 years.
Because you went to, you're in Costa Rica, you getting a master's degree? Are you still in school? And
no, so that was what brought me here. I
Okay.
came for a master's degree in peace and media studies, and I finished that.
Oh, you finished it. Okay.
Just decided to stay.
It's a beautiful place, man.
I love it.
It really is, especially like, when the locals and you could go like in the, wait, what's the term? The off the beat track, right?
Exactly.
I learned it already. The off the beat track where you go like, and that's where they took me to like these warm, it's like these warm baths, you go out, And it was just beautiful over there. So, okay, wait, I ain't done yet, family. Vagabondess, chief storyteller. Okay, I had to I had to look that up. That's a career, family. She's a professional storyteller. All right. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to toot your horn like this, but it's so okay. Then I see content strategist. We're gonna get into each one. She's a creative facilitator for how do you pronounce the place? Uh man, I got it right here. Numundo? That's how you say it?
Yeah, so can I clarify?
Yes.
So my position at Numundo is chief storyteller, or storyteller in chief. And then I'm a creative facilitator of my own retreats and workshops.
Okay. Interesting. Wow. Okay. And so before, I'd love to just hear you talk about like your life and your journey. From what I'm getting from you is I really love how, you seem to be like a visionary. And you did share, family, she did share about one of her her original purpose. She's actually writing a book right now about her life as a she wants to support other people that want to experience her, your lifestyle, your life journey. So sister, could you just kind of share how did you get in this path? Like, where did it all start? Like where you grew up? Let's get to know you.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. I can start sort of at the beginning and give a really quick synopsis of how I ended up where I am now. I grew up I actually grew up living in the same house for the first 17 years of my life. And I was incredibly fortunate to grow up with a family that traveled a lot. So I started traveling as a kid and as a teenager with my family. And I think that sort of planted the seed or got me the travel bug. And as soon as I was an adult, I started traveling on my own.
Okay.
I had some special opportunities to study abroad during university, and from there just sort of spiraled where for a while it became my purpose to just move and to keep moving through the world and learning whatever I could learn through travel. And that became really my life purpose for a lot of years, was to travel.
Wow. And when you were traveling, was I don't know, like how did you did you like go around and connect with the locals? Did you stay in a specific place for a couple months, or I mean, it don't seem like it's planned, right? It's just kind of.
Sure. And it changed so much over the years. There was a stretch where my goal was just to get to as many places as quickly as possible. And so I would hop on a bus, or I would hitchhike, or hop on a train, or hitch a ride with a friend from one town to another, one country to another. And I met a lot of locals doing that, a lot of hitchhiking especially. I met tons of people. But then I started to slow down, and I felt like there was something richer that I wanted to get at that I could only access if I stayed longer in a place. So I started to stay for a couple months, and then 6 months, and then a year. And now in Costa Rica, I've been here 2.5 years, which is the longest I've stayed anywhere for a while. And I'm just exploring that level of depth and richness from staying in one place so long. But in terms of where I stayed, I've done all of it: homestays, work trades, hostels, couch surfing. There are a million ways to get around the world.
Wow. That's, it's like people think about that stuff, and, a lot of people, when you're young, some people kind of create a lot of responsibilities for themselves. Like they have children at a young age, and, you have a job, and Toby, it just seemed like you have this self-confidence, or like this deep trust in self, in the universe, and especially, I can be real with you now, being a woman, I respect that, because I love how you said, because you kind of expand into consciousness too. of women that kind of downloaded that frequency or downloaded the program that the world is a very dangerous place. You see sex trafficking everywhere on social media. And that's the first thing people bring up to you. Oh, you're traveling alone. And here you're telling me, you know, you hitchhiked, you know, you was at a hostel. And it just seems like, you know, you just have this glow of, or this some type of a mental mind mastery. I'm not saying you're like a master, but I'm saying you seem like you have this, like, you see the best in the world, you know?
Optimism, completely. A
Yes.
lot of optimism, and I can't really take credit for that because I think that's something, you know, it's just a quality or a personality trait that some people
That's it. Okay.
have. Now, I think we can all cultivate it to a certain degree, but I'm a natural born optimist. I've always looked for the good in people and places, looked for the silver linings. Oh, there's so much I want to unpack there because yes, I am a woman who travels alone, and that's something that sparks a lot of fear in a lot of people. It is the question I get most often is, well, aren't you afraid traveling alone? And I want to, first of all, own the privilege that I have as a young woman, a white woman, a sort of conventionally attractive woman. I meet a lot of people, I encounter a lot of situations where people are more disposed to help me because of those qualities. So those are sort of things acting in my favor. But leaving all of that aside, it is a myth that the world out there is big and dark and scary, and that we're at greater danger out there, wherever there is, than we are at home. And you mentioned that statistic that women are at, and that's a statistic I share as a self-defense instructor, is that we're at greatest risk from intimate partners, friends, coworkers, and family. That doesn't mean there isn't other kinds of risk or danger, but it does mean that that whole narrative of it's dangerous to go out there is skewed. And I think it's something that is sort of designed to keep us small and keep us where we are.
Right, right. Definitely. And you know, when you brought up, you know, how optimism is kind of just a trait that you have, is your book, because the name of your book that you actually in the process, you're still in the process of writing it, correct?
Correct.
Vagabondess, a guide to solo female travel. So do you want to, are you having like retreats and stuff where you want to help to cultivate that same energy in women, basically? Like a lot of women that, I can be real, man, a lot of women look for security. And
A lot of people look for security.
a lot of people do, right? And you could really see how that want for security and comfort will really keep us trapped in a circumstance that we generally just don't want to live. But it's living in fear, you know? It's the fear that gets us. It's the what if. So we create all these conspiracy theories about ourselves, and we don't ever really push to you know, like how you just would just go in a land that you're not really familiar with. You even got some men that won't do that. So you're right about that, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a saying that I love, that life begins at the end of your comfort zone. And that's, I love that. Life begins at the end of your comfort zone. And it's so much easier said than done, because when it actually comes to doing it, to stepping outside of your comfort zone, that's a lifelong practice. And I'm running some retreats now. This is one of my favorite projects at the moment, empowerment retreats for women that are a mix of self-defense courses, yoga classes, nature connection, and sort of a community experience. And I'm running those in Costa Rica. And they're not only geared towards travelers, but I am hoping that they will leave the women who participate feeling better prepared to go out and travel alone if that's what they want to do.
Right, because you're very experienced in it, you know, over the past decade. And where are your retreats in Costa Rica? Like, if someone, you know, wants to like join the retreat, what do they get with the package? You know, like what do they get?
So there's two versions. One is in Spanish. It's called Mujeres Fuertes, and it's 2 nights and 3 days. It includes a full 10 to 12 hour self-defense course, yoga in the mornings, amazing local organic food, some fire and singing at night, and a lot of great discussions in between the programming. The other one is called the
Discussion.
Warrior Princess Retreat.
Is that the storytelling? Do you?
The discussion, it's just a less formal way of sharing about our experiences.
Okay.
When we start doing the empowerment self-defense work, it brings up a lot of experiences that women have had. And I like to leave space and time for people to share in a safe environment about what they've experienced. And sometimes they end up sharing stories that they've never shared with anyone.
Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. So it could be a process of them releasing trauma, or
I believe that. I believe that empowerment self-defense is very deeply related to trauma work.
okay. Wow. A lot of our women are they kind of they hold so much in. I mean, everyone does, but it's good to have that, place where you feel people actually care and are loving and want to see your growth, you know, because many times, a lot of people feel like their own family members, their own friends may not really fully understand them, or, it could be a close family member, we tend to have a lot of that. And
there's so much shame around it and so much judgment. So to have a space that's free of judgment and free of victim blaming is already very liberating.
Yes.
Very healing.
Wow. And you when you started these retreats recently in Costa Rica, or was that just a affair?
These specific retreats are recent. I started leading retreats in general almost exactly 2 years ago in Costa Rica. It was something that emerged it's one of the reasons I stayed so long, and it was one of the things that emerged for me when I moved to Costa Rica, was this sort of path of facilitation work. And the empowerment retreats are just in the last year.
Wow. That's awesome, man. It was interesting too. You also opened me up to hashtag empowerment self-defense. It's almost like it's a movement.
It is a movement. Empowerment Self-Defense Global is the organization that trained me, and
okay,
over the last
didn't
years,
know that.
So it's an amazing movement. It's a methodology that's been around for over 30 years, I want to say. It was developed by female martial artists and educators who realized that there wasn't a methodology of teaching self-defense that was really focused on women and women's bodies and vulnerable populations. So they created one. And now it's been, they've been developing it for the last 30 years or so. And recently, this organization, ESD Global, has surfaced with the goal of training instructors all over the world. So I'm one of over 100 instructors who has been trained in the last couple of years. They want to get this into every school, every university, every workplace. And I think we're heading in that direction.
That's awesome. It almost sounds like a rites of passage in a way, because we did lose that in our community, where, you'd have a rites of passage for men and for women. So, really power to you, sister, especially for being a visionary. And, I have just a question here. I'm interested in the whole, the storytelling. Like, does that, like, I mean, I didn't know it was a career. Could you kind of, because, I read, okay, this is what I read about it, right? Now, people who are really interested in storytelling, right? They're interested in human beings and just have an interest in life, right? And they bring out the interesting elements to the story. Like, I guess you leave out some parts that are not that interesting. So do you have like a strategy, or?
I like that definition, because that really jives with a lot of what I teach around. So I teach some workshops on writing and communication, and I talk a lot about selection. And I believe that as storytellers, or as writers, or in this age of internet and video, as media creators in general, one of the roles that we play is selectors. Because if you think about any story you would want to tell, if you wanted to tell me about what you did this morning, if you actually got into every single detail of what you did this morning, we'd be sitting here for the next few hours.
Yeah, that's true.
And that would be a crazy thing to try and tell the story in all of its details. So the minute you start telling me about your morning, the minute you start telling any story, you are making a series of choices about what you include and what you exclude. And usually we do that without thinking about it. But for me, the process of storytelling or of writing is about bringing awareness to that process.
Wow. All right. Interesting, man.
And to answer your question about the storytelling, how that fits in, that was sort of my first career and is still part of my work. Was after finishing university, I fell into freelance writing and editing. And that was how I funded my traveling for a lot of years, was working remotely as an editor and a writer.
Wow. That's awesome, man. So with, I see you kind of bringing it all together, right? Because you have the storytelling. It's like you synchronized all of your skills, and it seemed like you're using it at the retreat. And question, Toby, y'all into using stuff like ayahuasca, like y'all have shamanic ceremonies too at these retreats, or is that something?
Not at my retreats.
Okay.
We have, an opening ceremony, an intention setting ceremony, and a closing ceremony. Sometimes we'll have songs and fire, but New Mundo, which is one of the main organizations I work for, it's an amazing platform and database of retreat centers and intentional communities and permaculture farms all over the world. New Mundo, that's one of their pillars, is plant medicine. So I've learned a lot about that world living in Costa Rica and working with New Mundo. There's a lot of offerings like that. That's not what I'm personally offering in my retreats, but I'm definitely in support of the people who are doing it well.
Wow, man. And the Mundo is interesting because it's almost like it's like a global like chain link that's connecting all of the conscious living, like I use the word regeneration centers.
Mm-hmm.
It's like kind of connecting all of the retreats like everywhere. And I think there was there's an online course too as well for conscious traveling. Is that you hosting that?
That's not me. That's my colleague and friend Brian Arturo. He put that together. I just helped a little bit with the editing. It's not live yet, but it's coming soon. It's the Conscious Travel Academy, and it's an online course for people who want to travel in the New Mundo way. And I love what you said about New Mundo as a connecting force, because that's exactly how I think about it. It's this sort of connective tissue, bringing together different communities and travelers and facilitators all over the world who we already are part of this global community. And as soon as you start traveling to different communities and festivals, you realize that the same people just pop up everywhere. But New Mundo is sort of making that a little bit more tangible and a bit more accessible to people who want to access it.
I never heard about it, but I'm so glad that I know about it now, because I'm so interested in, just traveling to go Dubai, to go like drink some wine and kind of hang by the pool, that gets a little old, because I'm a trader, like I'm a Forex trader. And I have a school too online. I kind of teach meditation and stuff like that. But I just love, I'm so in line with the purpose. And you brought up festivals. So doesn't the Mundo have festivals, or do they like kind of participate in certain festivals to promote themselves?
We participate in certain festivals. New Mundo, one of New Mundo's founders, David Casey, is also the founder of Cosmic Convergence Festival in Guatemala, which is a transformational arts and music and indigenous culture festival on Lake Atitlan in Guatemala every New Year's. So there is that link. New Mundo is definitely, it's very tied up with Cosmic Convergence. Usually we're representing an Envision Festival in Costa Rica. Sometimes we show up at other festivals as well. It depends on capacity. And we're a booking platform. So a lot of gatherings with that focus on transformation will list their festivals on Numundo, and people can book tickets.
Man, it's like a grassroots movement.
Completely.
It really like a global grassroots movement dedicated for like the collective healing, you know,
Completely.
healing because, you know, I was having a talk with one of my brothers over here, you know, right on the island. And one thing we need to do better as a humanity is parenting our children, you know, just nurturing our kids, because you tend to see that a lot of us as adults, we kind of grow up trying to fill this void, you know, and a lot of traumas, or even don't even have to be from parents, it could be from school, it can be outside the house. And you would think that you forgot about, like, you, because you don't think about it consciously. You would think that you're okay, but you wouldn't realize how you have emotional triggers when it comes to certain relationships. You know what I mean? And
Absolutely.
one thing that these retreats, and, you know, like it's a breath work called holotrophic breath work. You know, you got ayahuasca, you got even being able to commune and talk to the sisters. It's like we hold on to it and we never really get to verbalize it, and we think we're okay, you know? Think we're okay. And so this movement here, you know, it really can help to put out much more higher knowledge and higher understanding, you know, when it comes to, especially what we deal with in humanity. So I now I want to go back to the book, man.
Sure.
Like the book, I saw, I think that was your website. I see you have a subscription service, right?
So I have a website, it's tobyisrael.me, and then I have a Patreon page, or Patreon, I'm not actually sure how you're supposed to say it, where I'm trying to fund my book through a membership style subscription service. And that's something I started recently as I started work on the book, to try and get people involved in the process, but also to try to self-fund it.
Right. Yeah, you want to get an editor, correct? You wanted to get an editor.
Yes.
And
I am a professional editor, but I think that no one can really edit their own work because we're just too close to it.
yeah, it's too close. Okay. Oh, you're a professional editor, so you know, I may have to pay you in the future to edit my book.
Let's talk.
And question, Toby, I see that 25, it was one that was for $25 a month, and it you know, looked like you got a lot for the package, because you talked about group hangouts and kind of key points in being a conscious traveler. That's correct. I think it was a solo conscious traveler. And I didn't even know anything like that existed when it comes to, like, you know, but it makes sense. You know what I mean? Do you, you know, you're going to kind of say what we get out of that package for anyone that, because, you know, because when we post this link, you know, I want to put in like your website, Patreon, and, you know, for anyone that would be interested, you know.
Yeah, gosh, I'm trying to remember how the tiers work. Let's see. I don't want to get it wrong. Give me a
Okay,
second.
sorry for putting you on the spot like that.
No worries. It's
Yeah.
and I went back and forth on the different price tiers, and so I was
Okay.
couldn't
Yeah.
make up my mind about what would be included. But yes, so with the 25, it's monthly group hangouts for anyone who subscribes at that tier level, and that's really an open Q&A, facilitated conversation about solo travel, about the creative process, about self-defense, really about anything people are curious about and want sort of more personalized conversation about. It also includes a copy of the book once it's published, probably an e-copy. I don't think I'll want to do print publishing, and then exclusive discounts to my retreats, sneak previews, or exclusive access to work I don't publish elsewhere, and other little perks that I'm figuring out as I go along.
All right. All right. That's what's up, man. Love it all. And so is Costa Rica like home? Is that like literally like the vagabondess has found her nest?
For the moment, I'm nesting here. Well, officially, I can't say it's my home because I'm not here. My residency application hasn't gone through.
Okay.
But
So yeah, you gotta go to Panama City.
so I gotta leave every
Yeah.
3 months, but I end up doing that anyways for work or for family visits. And I'm really happy here. The lifestyle really suits me. I found amazing community. I live in San Jose, which most foreigners don't understand, but there's wonderful local community in San Jose. I get to go to ecstatic dance every couple of weeks, contact improv, jams every week, acro jams every week. So there's a really high concentration of the things that I love and people I've really connected with. So for the moment, it definitely feels like home. But something I talk about in my book in the introduction, and something I think is really key to this whole concept of vagabonding or being a vagabondess, is that it's an archetype that we can embody, and it's a sort of mindset that we can bring to our lives. And it doesn't necessarily need to mean long-term international travel. I think we can be a vagabondess in our own backyards. I think we can be a vagabondess by choosing to move to a different town, or end a relationship that's not fulfilling us, or start a course in something that's outside of our comfort zone. So it's a way of life, and it's a way of looking at the world more than any specific set of actions.
Okay, so based on the person's character, my lifestyle, I could be a vagabondess, but wouldn't be like, so it's not like just fixed definition.
Not for me. And I want it to be accessible. I know there are a lot of women and people who want to travel long-term internationally, which is what I did and I'm still doing. But I also know there are people who say that's not what I want to do. But I am interested in this possibility of sort of breaking through limiting beliefs and confronting my fears and living with more vitality. And travel is one way to get there, but it's not the only path.
Yes, definitely. Based on what you said, I think I'm a vagabondess too then.
I think so. I get that impression.
Because, I here in Bahamas, but, I was in Costa Rica. I lived in Michigan, went to school in Michigan. My girlfriend lives in Miami. I worked in Hawaii for a couple of months. So, I'm trying.
I think you're definitely a vagabondess.
Thank you, man. Thank you. But was there ever a moment when, if over the 10 years, like, did you have like because when it comes to making money, right? Were you ever like at a job for like a long time, or how?
Sure. Yeah, and that's always the practical question, right? People are always curious. Well, how do you?
Someone is gonna ask you that. Yes.
Yeah, of course. So I'm very prepared with my answer to this. There are a lot of ways to make money on the road. The first thing I did, like when I started traveling sort of more permanently, was I saved up money. So I worked in restaurants in university and after university, and I saved up a lot of money, and then went traveling with the savings that I had, and did things like work trades and volunteering and couch surfing to make that money last as long as possible. Then the jobs I held longest were in editing and content creation. So I worked for a couple years with a really wonderful publication called Elephant Journal, which it's an online magazine based in Boulder, Colorado, focused on mindful living. And they hire editors remotely around the world. So I worked with them a long time. That was where I got a lot of my training as an editor. Then switched to working with private clients, also editing books, articles, websites. And now I've been working with Numundo for a couple of years, so that's also been a while. What I haven't ever done, I've never just had one job. As you can see, I like to have a lot of projects going at the same time.
Yeah.
And that's always been true. I've never just done one thing. I have a lot of respect for people who have that kind of focus and passion for just one thing. I think a lot of incredible things can come out of that, but
Definitely.
I like to keep busy with a lot of different projects all the time.
Yeah, you can multitask, like
Monotasking in quick succession. That's what I like to think of it as.
multitasking in okay, that sounds like me too. Right.
Because I can only do one thing at a time, but I can do one thing at a time and then another thing and then another thing and
Yeah,
have
okay.
accomplished 10 different things in the day.
All right. So you hear that family, like, when it comes to traveling, because it's kind of like what I've been doing over the past, like, about 2 years. Now, before that, you see, I had a work visa. I worked in Miami, but, the US only gives out 60,000 work visas a year, and over 200,000 people applied for it. So they put me in a lottery system, and it didn't pick me. So I basically lost my job. Best thing that ever happened. But, I lost my job. I had literally probably like 5,000 to my name, had rent coming up. So I just let the place get evicted, and because I wasn't in the country no more, I had to go back to the Bahamas. So this, I think last year and a bit of 2018, what you doing was the first time I experienced that vagabondess type of lifestyle where I'm working remotely. The reason I was in Costa Rica was because one of my boys, my brethren's up there, he has a company, and, basically online, where we teach people how to trade. And I developed myself to be such a good teacher, right? And trader, but to be such a good teacher. And I've been teaching for over like a long time when it comes to the esoteric concepts of life, So that's kind of the stuff, like the stuff you're doing, right? So it was the first time I got to like make money from my passion. It was scary though. Like for me, it was a little.
It feels good, but it's scary because when we don't care about our work, we're not invested in it. Like we are not part of our work. But when we're making money from our passion, then it gets all twisted up. Like we are our work, and our work is us, and our brand is us, and then it's
And I
much
feel
more
like
personal.
they paying me to play, like they paying me to, and even though it may be less pay compared to my career when I was working, I appreciate every dollar. I appreciate it. I don't, if it's $50, like I have such gratitude for everything because I did hit rock bottom. I tell you, I tried to run from it. I did hit rock bottom. I had to go on fast. I probably had to fast 2 to 3 days out the week. But instead of saying I was struggling, I turned it into, okay, this is spiritual. I'm going to get meditation in. I'm going to do my qigong. I'm going to seed my intention into the universe. You see? And then the thing is too, if you trading like stocks or Forex, it's really emotional. It's an emotional, psychological game. And I was trading with money that I was scared to lose. So that makes it even worse. You see, because we had a hurricane that hit the Bahamas last year. And I mean, it devastated the island. We had a lot of people that passed away. So that was kind of a setback as well, but the process in this vagabondess life family, like what she's talking about, it's been the best day of my life. It's the most spiritual growth because it's almost like I'm not scared anymore, man. I'm not. Yeah, I don't know what it is. Like I've cultivated such a trust in myself that somehow, some way, the universe always brings what I need. Sure, you experience this,
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love the way you put it, and it is so much of that. It's that getting to this point where the fear is on the other side, or you're on the other side of fear, and on the other side of fear there's so much trust and so much faith, you could even call it that, in people, in yourself, in the universe. And it feels really good to be there on that side.
Yeah. Question, did you ever cry on your journey?
I've cried a million times on my journey.
Let me tell you, I a grown man and I cried, man. I had breakdowns. I talking about looking in the mirror, you know. I like, man, what I doing with my life, man? Like, you know, I need to, but man, after those breakdowns, you know, you go to sleep, you just shut it off, and somehow, some way, the building blocks of the nature elements just follow your intention, and boom, look at you today. I ain't gonna lie, I don't know you, but I'm proud of you, man.
Thank you. Well, hearing just a little bit of your story, I'm proud of you too.
Definitely, you know, I'm, you know, when you say I'm not there yet, I don't know what there is anymore. It's just a constant journey. And it's like, there's a saying that the true master of life always forever remains a student, you know. So it's just, I don't know, I have a whole different idea of mastery, a whole different idea. You know, I thought spiritual mastery had something to do with comfort for some reason, and it's not. It's not.
Every time you find your edge and you expand your comfort zone, then there's a new edge to explore.
And yes, that's what
there's
I'm
always
saying.
Another edge.
Always. And just to go back to, you know, just your original purpose on a guide to solo female travel. It's what I like about now your retreats is you do have sisters that kind of trapped at jobs, whether it's corporate, whether it's kind of just, you know, even like in a relationship, where women tend to, I guess men do it too, where you give yourself to a man, you give your all, and it didn't really work out the way you wanted it to. So let me ask you this, in the 10 years from moving, have you single the whole time? Like no sparks flew?
No, I've had relationships. I've had some very serious relationships, and I've dated often in that time. And I know that feeling of really making a lot of compromises to make a relationship work. So I've done that. I guess in my years of solo travel, it hasn't always been completely solo. There have been other people on that journey.
Did you meet them on the journey? Like
some, yes.
Like, you know, go ahead.
My former partner, who was with me for about a year of this experience of traveling, I met in university. And then some.
Okay, makes sense.
Some other partners I did meet along the way while traveling.
All right, because, you know, in a serious relationship, I was wondering, like, yo, is he traveling with you? Is he like the male vagabondess? That, you know?
Yeah, and it's a hard question. There's not one answer. I have one chapter in my book is about love and relationships, and it's been one of the hardest chapters to write because I definitely don't think I have any answers about it. From other travelers I know, I've seen every possible configuration of relationships, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Some people go off on a solo trip and they have a serious partner back home and they are planning to go back to that relationship and to that home. A lot of people travel with a partner, and that can be a really beautiful experience. I think, you know, if you can travel with someone, if you can go through that experience with someone, then you have a good chance of your relationship working, because traveling will push all of your buttons. It will bring out all of your demons and your shadows and your traumas, and it will make you face that. And if another person is with you through that, that's some pretty deep connecting.
You share like a deeper bond, you know, then it seems that way because, you know, you get, most people, we kind of get used to the routine of life. He goes to work, comes home, she makes the food, you know, and for this to work out, obviously it would need to be someone that is kind of a digital monad, or, you know, works remotely or has that same passion, you know.
Yeah, and I will say this, it's often when there isn't that alignment of lifestyle goals, I guess we could call them that, if you're not trying to live the same way and travel and have that lifestyle, then that's a very challenging starting point for
Yes.
a relationship.
Yes. You know, where you could really love the person, but sometimes, as you say, love may not be enough, you know, because you have a purpose, and I could tell that you really dedicated to that purpose,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, and I think traveling solo also teaches some valuable lessons about letting go of material possessions, letting go of expectations, letting go of plans, and sometimes letting go of people. And it's a hard lesson to learn. It's definitely
That's true.
not, it sounds idealistic and nice in theory or philosophy, but in practice, that's a really difficult thing to live and to sort of integrate.
Yeah. Yeah, man. You know, because, you know, a lot of people, all I know is there's another guy out there that's just like that. You know, because I was thinking, you know, if I, you know, thinking of kind of getting into my career again, but working from home. Now, if I could do that, oh, I could still do what I want, but I do not want to just go and be a technician, you know, because I was more of a IT.
Mm.
It was in the commercial air conditioning field. It's kind of weird. It's a weird job. It's a mix of IT and air conditioning. You know,
Mm.
but you know, to work from home so I could still travel. And have you ever seen that website? It's a company called Remote Trip. You ever heard about them?
I know of one that's remote.com, another it's like sort of retreats for digital nomads, right? I
Yeah.
don't know.
What they do is they plan like you could get a plate. You basically could get a plan a trip. No, they plan a trip. Sorry, for a whole year. You get a year, 6 months, or even a month,
Mm-hmm.
and they put together everything for you. When you live for the 1 year, you live in each country, 12 different countries for 1 month, you know, and they plan out all of the activities, accommodation, everything so you could focus on your work. It's really interesting, and I know I'm going to do that shit. I want to do that. I just wondered if you know, ever bucked into that.
I'm aware of a few companies that have a similar
Okay.
model that are catering to digital nomads. I guess I'm not really. It's funny because I lead trips and I facilitate groups a lot, but
Oh, you do that.
I'm not a group participant. Like I'm not good at following the rules or staying in line. So I'm not. I have like a fair bit of resistance to sort of organized group activities. And when I do want to go someplace longer, I often prefer to find a spot on Airbnb, or nowadays reach out to people I know in the place that I want to go and see if they can hook me up with an apartment or a sublet or a room in their house. Sometimes it works out that way. But it's a really interesting option, especially if someone is trying to work more full time than I do, and they need that headspace to
Yeah.
focus on their work. Then to have all of those logistics figured out for you is a great option.
It sounds like you the one that doing you would be the one behind the scenes on a remote trip, really.
Yeah, maybe that's a future job.
Yeah, I could
There's
see you
another
there.
there's another very cool thing available to digital nomads that they often list on Numundo. I've been to visit them a couple times in Guatemala, called Momentum Collective, and they do artist residencies for performing artists, movement artists, and digital nomads in Guatemala, Bali, and Nicaragua, and somewhere else that I'm forgetting. They're like, it's this crazy community of circus people and acro yogis and meditators and visionaries. It's a very cool concept. They're great people. I love running into them around Central America. So that's another option for people more in the creative arts, especially.
Interesting. Momentum Collective. That's
Momentum Collective.
okay. Wow. All right. So this is really good conversation. And you know, I got back to the book and then got away from the book, back to the book. You know, Vagabondess, A Guide to Solo Female Travel. Now, sister, what, let me ask you this. What's the question? I want to make sure I didn't ask you this already. What do you like believe in? Because I see that we kind of use the terminology that I live by in a sense, and it's called Wu Wei, right? With a
Non-grasping.
right. And it's just interesting that you said that, you know. Do you talk about Wu Wei like in your book? Like, is that something you bring up, or you don't want to kind of?
I don't specifically bring up the term Wu Wei. I was recently listening to a great talk by Alan Watts about Wu Wei, and so it's been in my in my psyche recently. But the concept of non-attachment and non-grasping, I do talk about that in a few different ways. I talk about it in relationship to relationships. I talk about it with regards to material belongings, with regards to making plans. I think travel really teaches us to let go of attachment to our plans or to things turning out a certain way, because they never turn out how we think they will. Usually they turn out better. Sometimes they turn out worse.
Right.
and so yeah, it's definitely, it's present in my philosophy as a traveler, for sure.
All right. And any date when the book will come out? You got a date or no?
I don't have a date yet. I'm in the revision process right now, so I do have the first draft. I've sent it to a few readers. They've sent back feedback. Now I need to revise, which is actually the hardest part, I think. And gosh, if I had to make up a date right now, I'd say that I would really love to see it out there by the middle of the year, by June. And that feels reasonable. I think I can make that happen. Maybe sooner.
Definitely give you some time. All right, man. Well, Miss Toby Israel, this has really been an interesting interview. You know, now, you know, we really kind of, family, you know, made it this far. You really could see how when it comes to traveling, you know, even like when you navigate on earth as a vagabondess, there is some type of trust in self, right? It's also like a spiritual quest. Now, it's not a path everyone takes, you know, it's not for everyone, but you know, I definitely advise you, family, to check out Toby Israel's website. You know, man, Ada on Facebook. You know, we can put all the links in when we post the video. You know, Toby, to the sisters out there, to the woman out there, just if there's any last thing, even like this, if any last thing you want to say that, I don't know, you feel like that's really important to woman, is there anything, or, you know, you feel like we touched on a good amount of topics?
I'd love to say one more thing. It's also really present in my mind because I was doing a live video about this earlier today on the theme of don't listen to them. Of course, you know, other people have good advice, they have good insight, but I think something that's really suppressed in women, especially, and really people in general in our society, is intuition and sort of self-awareness. And for me, both travel and empowerment self-defense are a lot about reclaiming that trust in our own intuition, in our own knowing. We know so much more than we think we know. And when we sort of develop our trust in that knowing, I think we can go a lot farther than we think. And so that if in closing, I would want to offer that to listen first and foremost to your own intuition and your own instincts and your own body, and discover how much knowledge you carry there.
All right. Good stuff, sister. Good stuff. Definitely just want to say, Hotep, Namaste, Ashe, all that good stuff. Appreciate your presence. And I do not think that this is a farewell, because when I'm back in Costa Rica, yeah, I got to link with you, man.
Yeah, to see you soon. Absolutely. Mark, thank you so much for the time and for the invitation to share with you all. I really appreciate it.
Yes, definitely. It's a pleasure to have you on here, to host you and support you. You know, we're gonna, like I say, at least you have this as an interview. You could put this on your website as well, so people could get to know you more. You know, and family, you know, for the listeners out there, we also appreciate you for tuning in. You know, this is the Alkalise to Realize talk show. We had a lovely, lovely woman today, Toby Israel. God bless your heart, sister. You know, you have a good day. And, you know, I just know that there's, just from reading about you, I've learned even a lot of different wording, a lot of different terminology, things that I mean, wasn't really aware of just from reading about you. So I can imagine taking the course. I could imagine buying the book, you know, family. So definitely support her. She got those retreats in Costa Rica. And one thing we can do on earth is when we heal the woman, we need to heal the womb, right? Because we all come here and enter through earth, through woman. So this ain't no, you don't take this lightly. She really on a quest now, you know? She's really on a quest to help women release their traumas, to just find a place where there's a place that just don't have judgment, you know? Just say how you feel. You know what I mean? So definitely, can you post, send me the links to your retreat, you know?
Absolutely.
Everything, so when we put it together. And anyway, I feel like I'm talking too much, but Toby, you have a good day, sister, and we'll stay in touch.
Have a great day. Thank you.
All right, man. Peace out, family.
We alkalize to realize the body is the temple, water is the source of life. We breathe in life and then we synthesize. This liquid sun will free your glands and begin to decalcify. Peer through your third eye, see through the lies and give your body what it's missing. We dehydrated, and that's the human condition. But when you clean the body and believe the body, you set yourself up to receive the body. See, it's a sharp knife, that's the water of life. It's like a sword cutting parasites down the sides. It takes a certain kind of faith to know that you're divine. And if it comes from urethra, then it's alkaline. We serve in truth, and it don't matter how weird it really gets. It's the linchpin ascended masters to initiates. We alkalize to realize. Open your mind and find you had it inside this whole damn time. We alkalize to realize. Open your mind and find you had it inside this whole damn time. You had it inside this whole damn time.